Well, as Americans seek facts and governors weigh reopening strategies for their states, the mainstream media incessantly leans into blaming President Trump. Former Congressman Dave Brat sits down with One America's Jenn Pellegrino to shed light on the politics behind the pandemic.
We're here with Dave Brat, Dean at the Liberty University School of Business and former Congressman in Virginia. Dave, thanks so much for joining us.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it. Dave, you've spoken a little bit about some of the mainstream media's focus on testing, how they're really trying to get that out there as the key right now as we go forward. Governors are speaking about it as they're focused on reopening states. 4 million Americans have been tested now. What's your perspective on it?
Yeah, well, I don't want to knock testing at all. Dr. Fauci said it's one of the key ingredients in the health regimen that we all should be paying attention to. So that's fine. But I just find it interesting that the mainstream media started off with, oh, we're in a crisis over hospital beds, and then we're in a crisis over ventilators. And then that didn't pan out. There was no shortage across the country. And now the mainstream, it's just over and over and over on the testing. Fauci had just a common sense kind of solution with respect to the testing. He said, look, you can test someone and they don't have it today, but in another day, they may have it. And so then what does the press say? Let's test everybody all day, every day. So I think they're just putting up a screen to protect themselves so they have something to say. And it's kind of an implicit, hit at the president.
And speaking of blame, there's been a lot of that recently from the press, blaming the president, taking a look at the timeline as this all began.
Right.
Everybody seems to be forgetting about China.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. The virus came from the Wuhan district, from the lab. This isn't just an accident. And the president said that matters, right? And so when you look at the evidence, it looks like they knew they had a pandemic on their hands by the end of December 2019. Then they shut down travel in Wuhan, and especially no one goes to Beijing. But they send their delegation to do trade talks in D.C. and shake hands with everybody here. They sent 400,000 Chinese flights into the United States of America while they know they have a pandemic. No one wants to go there in the press. But rationally, you have to ask, we can't read intent, but when they go on a shopping spree and buy out all the PPE, right, all the health stuff, knowing full well, that is the key piece where health teams cannot treat patients without it. And they go on a shopping spree to Australia, Brazil, Europe, and buy it all out, and then try to look like the good guy selling it back at 5 times the price a few months later. And they won't let anybody into the lab to find patient number 1. The rational person just knows. You've got to be kidding me, right? It's not just bad, what you did to the world, unleashing the virus, but your foreknowledge is very telling also, and it's not good. The justice will come out eventually.
You know, CDC Director Robert Redfield said that there's likely to be a second wave of this coming along with flu season in the fall. How does this look as far as getting the economy back up and running? Yeah,
well, the mainstream media took his comments out of context and really ran with them as usual. And so he walked it back quite a bit and put it in context. He just said it looked like the flu is going to be, a double whammy with this. And now you're talking Great Depression levels. So it doesn't matter how much money Congress puts out there. You cannot sustain that level of congressional spending week in and week out of a $500 billion without the economy running. So we're going to have to walk and chew gum and be safe and social distance, wear the masks, do the best science possible, but we have to open up. There's no alternative, and we're going to have to live in that world.
Dave Brat, thank you so much for taking time to join us today. We really appreciate it and hope you stay well.
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.